Today we are going to be working on creating a magazine cover. And by doing so, we're going to be sort of altering an already existing photo to sort of make it a more of a pop culture or pop infused cover for a magazine. So the first thing you need to do is to find a photo of any celebrity you want to use for their project. For our project today, we're going to be using this picture of Katy Perry, and we are going to be using both Photopea and Vector. So if you open up Photopea, you instead of just going to a new project, it will probably just give you a generic form. We need our form to be the size of a piece of paper. And so what you're going to do is go to File, New, and you're going to change the sizing up here on the top left of your screen. So right now we changed this to inches. It was in pixels. So you want to make sure you're in the right form so that you understand it the best. So in inches, we want it to be a piece of paper. So 8.5, 8.5 by a height of 11. I changed the DPI to a 300, so it's a higher quality photo. This is a good way to make sure the pictures you bring in are also very large photos, or the things that you save from Vector are also at high quality PNGs. So make sure you're saving yours at 300 DPI, so it's dots per inch, and 8.5 by 11, as well as I changed this background to transparent instead of white, so that I can sort of tell which is part of a background or is separate from the actual picture. And you hit create. So you'll not have this. This is if you just open the picture, you'll have just whatever form the picture is in. That photo is originally a square, so it's not helping us. But when you have the one you create, it will look like this. So for our purposes, I'm going to resize this. So image or edit, free transform. We'll make this larger. So again, when you're making any image larger, you want to make sure you're holding down shift so you don't have like these really squished images or really elongated ones without making the proportions the correct sizing. So if I hold down shift, you can see that it's keeping that dimension of a square photo as square as possible as it gets larger. So I'm going to try to fill the whole thing. So this definitely helps if you have a larger photo, higher quality photo, so that even if when you scale it up, it will not become pixelated. So even though I scaled this up, this photo is very still high quality. You can see zooming in, it's still clear. So this is very helpful if you when you're looking through Google Images for your photo of your celebrity or whoever you're choosing. Make sure your own tools and quality or size is very large, so you can have these and you can adjust them without having any blurring or pixelation of your photos, because that's not what we're going for. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to start to sort of like identify areas that we want to adjust in our creation. So some of the things I want to do is I'm going to try to cut out the background here around her face and give it a different background on this left side or the right side of this photo. I'm going to try to bring in a picture or a text and place it over her face, so it sort of like wraps around her face. Also apply a couple different things to maybe the shirt, and maybe put on some like fake features that I can make in Vector, save them as PNGs, and place them on top as like sort of look like stickers, but are sort of like in the vein of like pop art or pop culture. So that's what we'll be working on today. So the first thing I want to do is I will go to Vector. I already opened up my project that I'm in my account. Again, if you don't have your account, please make sure to have one for both Photopea and Vector so you can come back and work on them as you go through. One thing I'm going to do in Photopea before I leave there, I want to duplicate my background just so I have a copy of this. So just in case I mess up or erase the picture of her, I have that still ready to go. And also you see here this little box. I want to get rid of that box. So I'm going to right click. I'm going to rasterize. So now if I need to, I could erase part of that layer. So if I needed to erase it for any reason, we could. But for our time being, we want to keep that because that's part of our picture that we're going to use. So I turned off the bottom layer just so I don't, if I do erase something, I'll actually be able to tell before it's too late to go backwards. So one of the things I'm going to bring in, or I'll try first would be the pen tool. Pen tool around her face here, so I can maybe make a fill color for this background. So using the pen tool, again, everyone's photo is going to be slightly different depending on what your goal is for your project. So I'm going to use my pen tool for this. So it's starting to fill in my color, which I don't want. So I'm going to turn this fill color with the red X. So it's no fill color, so I can make sure I'm seeing everything I want to see when I using the pen tool here. Again, if you're too far away, it's gonna be really difficult to tell if you're cutting out the right things. So I would suggest zooming in if need be. And then work around your design. So we'll go the opposite way here, on the outside of our picture, so we can cut that out. So once we have our form, again, you see it over here on shape. You go to path while it's selected. You don't have to right click. That's if you're using Photoshop or Illustrator, you will be needing to do that. But if you're in Photopea, you can just use this one down here, the marquee tool. Click on that. There you go. So now it turns into a marquee. Go back to layers. We're going to go back to our copy. We're going to copy paste part of that picture. If it's not showing up, oh, there it is. So we can see it's the piece we made. So for our design, we can edit that any form we want. So maybe we'll go image adjustments, color, um, invert, maybe make it a little different. So now she's like sort of standing out. We can also try something else. Image adjustments, color balance. We'll give it a couple different colors here. Okay. Okay. So next thing we're going to try to do is uh, bring in a picture to wrap around design. So let's try putting it uh, on her shirt. So we're going to pen tool around her shirt here first. Again, these only work very well is if your pen tool is done very neatly. So make sure you're holding down the edges, holding down the pen tool so you get those smooth edges instead of it just being very jagged. Since we are doing it on the computer, you can get very detailed designs. So please make sure you're doing that. And again, if it's off the page, you can just go around. If your design goes off the page, that's totally fine. Go to path. Again, marquee tool. There we go. Our area selected. Back to our original. And then we're going to go copy paste. You can do it on keyboard, or you can do it from the drop down menu. Copy, edit, paste. There's our jacket or our shirt design. What we're going to do is place the picture on top of that. We're going to go back to this shape layer, path, marquee, go to file place, so it'll place it inside that marqueed area. So it didn't place it right in the picture, but we know what we're going to do with it. So we're going to make this picture a lot larger. So it's a high quality photo. This is a design by um, Keith Haring that we're going to sort of use the overall design for. So we're going to rotate it so sort of place it on her shirt area, and we're going to go to enter, go to select color range, but we want to turn those other layers off. So let's turn the other ones off so we don't accidentally select the wrong piece. So select color range, and it looks like we already got most of it. There you go. So we're selecting the white part. Okay. And we're going to get rid of that. So it's just with delete. So now if we bring those pictures in, there we go. They're starting to show up. And so we're going to deselect, and we're going to start sending pieces back on. Good. So our characters are gonna sort of fall on top of where her shirt is, and so what we want to do instead of just using the eraser and just cutting around this, since we already pen tooled it, we can just use that same feature. So we're gonna go back to our shape tool. It already has it selected, so we went back to shape 2, back to path, and so we want to marquee that area. So marquee down here at the bottom, back to layers. But instead of going to our background copy, we're going to go to our Keith Haring picture, which is right here. And what we want to do is we want to get rid of all the extra pieces that are not on top of her shirt. And so instead of hitting delete from that layer, we want to go inverse, so it's everything else. We want to keep the shirt area. So we're going to go to select, inverse. So now you saw the marquee move from the bottom part to the background. So now when we hit delete, there we go. It's selected everything else and deleted it. And so now it looks like her shirt has these Keith Haring designs all over them. Another thing we can do is, since we already have the color of that shirt created, we could go and change the color as well. So maybe we wanted that shirt to be like a dark blue instead of a light blue. So image, adjustments, and we can go to brightness and contrast, turn the brightness down. make some subtle changes here. So we went from this one to this, so more of a darker blue color. So our next thing here is going to be start to make some of these additional features. Maybe like we want to put like on our face. So my suggestion would be to open up the same picture but in vector, so that you have a good source material. So when you start to save your elements from vector as PNGs, you don't have to rearrange them or change the angle that they're on, since it'll be really difficult to do that in another program like Photopea, whereas you can do all that editing in vector itself. So we're going to go to vector. We're going to file place our picture of Katy Perry or whatever celebrity you're using, to start to make some of those sort of features. We're going to make some maybe like some fake eyes and maybe like a fake mouth, and maybe we'll do another maybe like a photo placement on her face as well, to finish up this project. And we can also make some background features that we can drop here around the outside of her picture. So we'll be working on those both in Photopea and in Vector. File open placed my picture here. So that's, you got to upload your image and make sure it's uploaded onto Vector. Again, we're trying to make the different pieces, so we need to use the pen tool to do that. So bringing in the picture is key so that you can see, sort of make sure all your pieces line up, as well as they'll fit on your design once you move them back to Photopea. So make sure you upload the photo. It did take a few times there. Just make sure it's uploading. So just give it some time to make sure it is uploading so you can use it. So once you have your picture in there, you can zoom in to make the pieces that your goal for this product is. So for us, we're going to try to make maybe like a mouth and maybe like some eyes or something more of like a cartoony look for this design. So let's go with the pen tool. We'll go make mouth here. We're going to sort of use this as a bit of a guide. Again, you want to sort of use the same stuff as before. You want to make sure your pieces are using the holding the pen tool down so it gets those curved lines. So zoom in here a little. So if you double click on any of the pieces after you're done, you can go and edit those marks. So let's move this. Down to make sure like part of the lip that bends down closest to your nose. So what we're gonna maybe do is make these like really big lips here, and then we're gonna have maybe like a tongue, like a cartoon tongue, sort of sticking out. Next thing we're gonna do is maybe make the tongue piece. So we're gonna go. So we sort of our tongue design. There's a little lump in it here, so let's try to adjust that. A little. Good. Another thing we'll probably have is sort of like the center part of this tongue come down. That sort of like help create that like cartoony look. Maybe move this line of this tongue just ever so slightly so it doesn't even see the edge of it. So we have like sort of a bottom lip here. We'll try to maybe add like a top lip as well, just so it doesn't feel as bizarre. So we need to fill in this gap here with like black. So that's what I'm gonna actually do here. So, let's move the tongue up again. You can move the paths over on the left side, or you can use these arrows here. Depends if you have a lot of different layers. I would suggest just holding it down and moving it. But since we only have a handful, we can just use this. We'll move this up. There we go. So you can start to see the gap between those two. It's a weird, like, hard edge here. Let's even that up. Also add like a couple other like cartoony looks. So it's like sort of like a spit sort of thing. So copy paste. So we want to sort of make it look like it's different pieces. So there we go. Good. So let's give these a color now. So we're going to fill those in. We can make maybe like a lightish blue. We can probably get rid of the border color. Give them the same color. And again, if they're like sort of like water or like saliva, they're probably transparent too. So let's turn off the border. Give it a transparency. You can make them different levels of transparency too, so you can see them more noticeably. So that's it's our one piece we're going to make for right now. And if we go back and make the eyes, I would also make them separately so that when you move them over onto Photopea, not all the pieces are locked together. But we sort of know that the tongue and the water and the lips will probably all be the same piece together, so you can save them individually if you wanted to. So one thing I'm going to do is I'll add a gradient here and a drop shadow, and then I will save them as a PNG. But what I would do is also turn off this background. So I would turn this off and save this so that it have a clear background, so that when I file place that onto Photopea, that there's nothing blocking my image. It's just the mouth, the tongue, and the water. So I'll just go back and do a couple retouches real fast. So we'll do a gradient here. That. Here we'll do a drop shadow as well. These little water droplets, shadows too. Alright, so let's see how this goes. So we're in from the background. I'm going to turn that off. So again, turn off the background here. So now we just have just the mouth. What we're going to do is go to save this. So we're going to export. There's our design. We're going to save it as a PNG, so it has a clear background. So we're going to drive this to the desktop. Or if yours lets you just download it right away, perfect. So I had to drag it to the desktop. Back into Photopea, we're going to place that in. Here's our design. Again, our picture is really small, so we got to make this a lot larger. So again, scaling it up, you want to make sure you're holding down Shift. So one thing we do want to make sure is that we're on the top layer here. So we'll move our picture to the top. There we go. One piece added as our sort of our sticker addition. So now we got a couple things. We got our color change in the background. We got our addition to the fabric with the Keith Haring. We got our sticker like mouth design, and we'll keep adding things as we go along. So you're just going to keep doing this over and over again. It's you're gonna like fill up like probably 90% of your design um, with alterations, additions, uh, distorting your overall magazine cover. The next thing you want to do is also think about implementing words to sort of emphasize whatever type of magazine you're trying to represent. You can make it up. It could be one that already exists. Um, so if you're choosing one that already exists, maybe you want to take a sort of a pop culture approach. So if you're using Vogue, maybe instead of having those like very script fonts, maybe it's bubble letters or they look like balloons. Or if you're using like teen magazine, maybe it's again like bubble or block lettering. So it's not as uh, expected because you are doing these alterations or adaptations to already existing photo. You can cover up most of your character or the person you select by adding other features, but make them intentional.